By the way, look at my drink for tonight.
Whoa.
It's the size of my head. Do you see?
Had a tough day? What happened?
No, I don't want to get up when I need more. So
I'm having lemonade. I'm boring.
Oh god.
Oh god.
Well, it is only Wednesday, so wait.
Here we go. Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
Just make sure your headphones are working.
Oh, okay. We're good to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. We just had to check.
We just
All
have
right,
to,
you're good.
IT, nerd alert, has to check.
The anxiety is real.
Okay. As you gulp down your big gulp size wine.
It's still the size of my face, so.
Does it say your name? How cute is that glass? Katie.
It was a bridesmaid gift.
Oh, what a thoughtful gift.
Sisters who've seen it. We are the sisters who've seen it. Sisters, shooby-dooby-doo-wop, sisters, shooby-dooby-doo-wop, sisters, sisters who've seen it.
Welcome back, listeners. Glad to have you back, because we about to go on a wild ride.
A rated R wild ride.
A rated R wild ride through Crazy Town.
Yes.
So we are
The Sisters Who've Seen It.
the podcast where two sisters who are not movie critics look back on some of our favorites throughout the years through a psychological, ethical, and familial lens. I'm Katie.
I'm Bridget.
And roller coaster begin. That's us going up the roller coaster.
Listening to the last episode, you talked about Six Flags Batman rides so much, and this is a entirely different vibe.
This is not a fun roller coaster. This is one where you're like, it's gonna hurt me.
It is, and I was thinking about, I feel like we need to warn people. We gotta make sure that they're not any children, because this movie is dark. And
yes,
you think, okay, 1991, we've gotten a little desensitized, so it probably isn't that bad. Oh no. I had moments where I literally wrote, Jesus Christ, and exclamation points.
Yeah.
So, for all you listeners, this will get X-rated quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the movie is Silence of the Lambs. I was wondering who's going to do that first. It's hard to do.
I mean, technically you did it first last time.
That's true. Came out in 1991. Do you know what day it came out?
I hope it's not my birthday, because I was born in 91 and that's...
Oh, snap! Valentine's Day, not your birthday.
Oh, Jimmy's birthday.
This makes so much sense.
What?
Jimmy's Hannibal Lecter. No, I'm kidding.
It's terrible though, he's died.
Poor Jimmy. We love you, Jimmy.
We love Jimmy. Wow, that's a weird release date.
I agree.
Valentine's Day for the murder nastiness.
Yes.
Jeez.
And I know we usually start off with the plot, but this is a complicated plot.
Yeah. I need you to go first, though, because
Jesus.
it was picked for you.
Oh my gosh.
So...
Jodie Foster.
Queen.
Anthony Hopkins.
Queen King.
Scott Glenn? I think that's Crawford's
Who?
name. That was
that guy?
Agent Crawford. But really, it's about Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins.
And did you notice who was the first name that was listed in the opening credits?
Jodie Foster?
Yes, which I was really happy
Nice.
about, because I was actually thinking it was going to be Anthony Hopkins, because he was the bigger name, I think, at that point. And it was her, and I was really happy.
Well, she did win an Oscar, right before this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I should look it up. I forget the movie. But, okay, there's some really good backstory with all this, but I have to focus the plot. So,
Okay.
Jodie Foster is in the FBI Academy
Yes.
and is top of her class. Simultaneously, the Behavioral Science Unit is on the hunt for a serial killer, and it's happening now. And creatively, they think if we use an existing serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, who is in jail, he could help us find this murderer. And the murderer is Buffalo Bill.
Mm-hmm.
This part we will probably talk about a lot because I think it's interesting they picked her. But the head of the FBI picks this student to talk to Hannibal Lecter and try to get some dirt. And I think part of it was using her as a toy.
Yes.
But also trying to not distract Hannibal Lecter from any of the other authority figures he hates. And so this fresh face could maybe crack the code. And so it's this back and forth, and they have a fantastic dialogue.
Oh my God. Every conversation between them was amazing.
Fun fact, they were only in 4 scenes together.
See, how crazy is that? Because it feels like it's so much more.
It felt like an hour of the movie was dedicated to them.
They were long, though. I mean,
they were long, but it wasn't half the movie.
Yeah,
so
no,
this is
right.
where I gotta simplify the plot, because it really goes in and out, and Hannibal's giving her clues, and she's trying to chase the clues, but he's also trying to get into her mind, and he's dangerous. So there's this negotiating of, you could have a different place if you give us this, and so there's moving of him, and he's got his own crazy story, and she essentially, they find the killer at the end, and obviously win in the end, but to get there is a battle, and there is definitely sexism, loud and proud.
Definitely. But intentional.
Intentional, and she was a good communicator with it, while
oh my God,
having a sense of strength without forcing it. I thought she did that well.
I wrote notes about that.
I think it's, if you like psychological thrillers, this is icing on the cake, and that's my favorite part, is
cake.
The back and forth. Well, cake, obviously, but the back and forth of Hannibal Lecter saying, I will give you clues if I can basically psychoanalyze you, and her fearlessly saying, dig into my mind. It's just the coolest thing, but it's dark and beyond disturbing, and Buffalo Bill is horrific with crimes.
Yes.
And I had like chills every time I saw him in a scene. So that's my synopsis. I probably could keep going forever, but that's my way to shorten it.
That was good.
Okay, good. What do you got?
Pretty much, I mean, a lot of what you said. I think the only things I would add is there's a lot of moth symbolism.
Yes.
And there's a whole, like, subplot with bugs, and it adds to the grossness.
Yes.
And it represents, we think, you know, relating to gender identity or gender expression. So, I mean, there's that piece. I definitely agree with the sexism, and again, it was certainly intentional. And in my opinion, just done really well. And to your point, I think Jodie Foster, the way she delivers her lines, they're just so like rock solid, you know, because there's so many times where men in the movie try to shake her, even if maybe they don't mean to, they're just being gross men. But she really doesn't. She, for the most part, keeps her composure and is very professional about it, even though she's a student. But yeah, and then obviously the women, it's women being murdered, of course. It's always the women. Great. So that kind of is, I think, a little bit related, because we could have had fat men being murdered, but I guess they're hairy, so we didn't. I don't know.
Even the eerie font when the movie starts.
Yes.
It's black filled with a white outline, and it's giant block letters. Like, remember when you were in middle school and you would draw on your notepad? Giant block letters.
The Superman-esque.
Well, for whatever reason, I was like, it was jarring just immediately. And
the music, too, I thought was just very fitting.
I was just thinking, the one thing, though, that besides the music, the style of the camera, zoom in.
Yeah, the cinematography.
I got a little distracted by the end, but in the beginning, I was like, oh, no one does this in movies anymore, where a character's talking and the camera just goes closer and closer and closer to their face. I was like, ah!
But I think that was mainly done specifically for this movie because it is a psychological thriller. And it's almost like a way to throw the audience out of their comfort zone, where you're like, oh, we're really close. I don't like it. Like, it makes me feel weird.
Yes.
But it was done, I think, purposefully.
It was. I don't know about the zooming, but I read that the director, Demi, I think that's how you say his last name, he wanted everyone to feel like they were connected to Jodie Foster. So if you notice, every character looks directly at the camera when talking to her, and she looks away.
Which, there's a very funny scene we have to talk about.
Which one?
Is that?
With who? Which character?
When she, the first time, is going to meet Hannibal Lecter, and she finally tells the really weird doctor in the jail to basically like F off because he was creepy and weird.
He was creepy and weird.
It was whatever.
He enjoyed torturing Lecter and...
Yeah, but she's standing in that little room and it's a slow turn and she's looking at this tiny room where there's, you know, like another cop and there's some TVs, and then it turns and there's the security guard Barney, who's just been standing there like... He's just been sitting there smiling, waiting for her to turn for a solid, like, 35 seconds. And then he's like, hey, I'm Barney. And you're like, what the? Why did you do that, sir?
He was the comfort for me in that scene.
Barney
was the comfort
he was standing there smiling.
Because everybody else was so, you know, you can't just come see my patient, you FBI agent, who do you think you are? And he's dangerous little lady, and, you know, it just, don't tell him anything personal. And Barney was kind of refreshing. He's like, hey there, you're a person, and I want to say hi. I liked him.
Except Barney was a little sexist, because he was like, you're gonna do fine. Don't worry, sweetie. I believe in you. And you're like, Barney, shut up. Go away. Go stare at someone as they spin in a circle for an hour. God.
So this movie, as it starts off, and we learn she's in the FBI Academy. I had a lot of questions on, is that how the FBI Academy is? And apparently, the FBI helped with this movie.
I think it was portrayed very realistically.
I guess I've never thought about it. Like, what the FBI Academy would be. I never thought about it.
Well, I have. You know why?
Why have you?
Because this movie inspired the most amazing TV series of my life.
Oh.
That came out in 1993.
Oh.
Jodie Foster inspired a powerful female FBI lead, The X-Files.
Oh!
So in that show...
You paused, for those that can't see your face. You paused,
I did. I made a face.
Leaned in, and lifted your glasses up. That was the best dramatic reveal ever to The X-Files. Anytime anyone says The X-Files, I want them to do that. I want them to lean forward and lift their glasses up. Wow.
I'll put the memo out.
That was powerful stuff.
But they're FBI agents, and they're not in the academy, but there's a lot of episodes where there's somebody's in it, or they talk about it, or they reference it. So yeah, I kept thinking, I was like, ugh, Scully. Who's the lady? That's Dana Scully.
I don't
She
know
was
why
inspired by Jodie Foster. She was inspired by this character. Like, they wrote that part in that show because of this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I never watched The X-Files. And literally no reason, just, I don't know. But I feel like I'd enjoy it now.
It's the best. And if you watch it, you need to live tweet me or text me every second. And then I can relive it vicariously through you.
Every second, I will tweet you. Done.
Anyway,
let's focus.
Okay,
so
sorry. So my question, though, is, because this I don't know the answer to, how old do you think she is? Because I was like, you're over 21.
So she graduated, because she mentioned, I graduated UVA, or she mentioned the university she graduates from a lot. So you know she's 22, 23, but I assume it's at least a couple years. Like, can we Google how long the FBI Academy is? I'm going to do that. Keep talking.
Okay, good. You do that, because... I think knowing that would affect how it made me feel about the grossness of all the men. You know what I mean? Because if she was younger, like fresh out of college, I think it's a little grosser because all the men were old. They were
pretty old.
Young guys really in this. Like none that I can think of.
So this FBI Academy is like a 10-week course. So she probably was really young.
What? 10 weeks? And she is the best marks? How does that work? They get a grade every day?
I don't know.
Happening?
I Googled it, Katie. There's no fact check on here.
Oh my god.
But it's not like a 3-year deal. That's what I was looking for. Is it a couple weeks or is it, multiple years? So yeah, she's probably 23, whatever.
Oh, that makes it,
But you're right about the intentional sexism because they brought it up and they brought it up in a way that was practical versus ignoring it. It was just like a little in your face. First of all, that jogging sweatsuit. Do you remember the matching sweatshirt and sweatpants? It brought me back to gym class. I was like, oh, snap, Jodie. But, like, the men turning as she's running and she gets in the elevator and it's, like,
Yeah.
all men and... I'm like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah. But I feel like they actually did something with it.
Yes.
It wasn't like they just had scenes like that and then they never talked about it. There were points where they would talk about it. And there was even a scene where she brought it up.
Yes.
And, like, called her boss out.
Yes.
About it. So I liked that part.
Yes.
Of it. Because, like you said, it could have just been, yeah, the audience gets it. We don't need to explain it. But they were like, no, we're gonna, like, say something because... this is stupid. All y'all are dumb.
I agree.
So she's running through the woods. In my notes, I was like, she's running alone. She's doing an obstacle course. It's dark and foggy. I'm afraid. Is this required? Or does she just want to do...
Is she, like, putting in the extra obstacle course? I don't know.
Do you get extra credit? And then some man just appears in the woods.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, I was here behind this tree. Thank God I found you. And the best is she goes to her... I don't even know if he's technically her boss at that point. I think he becomes her boss, maybe, by inviting her in. But she goes to meet him, and she's still in her sweaty tracksuit.
Yes.
Awesome.
I loved it.
I love it.
I loved it, too. It did have kind of a college vibe that way, you know? Like, oh, just coming from class, coach.
Coming from the obstacle course in the woods,
as
casual.
Yeah. No, you're right. And it's like they just had to get that part going.
Yeah.
So, the first time meeting Hannibal Lecter. Whoa, mama.
So good. Did you find any fun facts about that scene? Because I would be curious to know whose idea was it to have it where he's just standing and already looking. Obviously, the director could have been like, this would be creepy. But I almost wonder if Anthony Hopkins was like...
Oh, yeah. You read a lot about how he did his due diligence. He went to a lot of kind of criminal court cases. He tried to meet different serial killers, all this research. But
what?
So, okay, 3 main things he added that I read about. In some scenes, I don't know if it's all of them, he wears all white.
Yes, I did notice that.
It was his suggestion because people are afraid of doctors and the dentists that wear all white. And he, like, tapped into that fear. Brilliant. Second, he, on a whim, did the famous, like, slurping sound.
Yeah.
And they just kept it. And the director was kind of so, I guess, not prepared for it that since everyone hung on to it, he became annoyed by it. Like, after people kept bringing it up, like, way to go. And he was like, ugh, whatever. Which cracked me up. And third, in the beginning scene, when he is talking to Jodie Foster and he makes fun of her accent.
Yeah.
That was real. It was like the beginning of filming, but I think he ad-libbed that. And she was horrified because he was, as like an actor, he was like in his character making fun of her accent.
Was he doing it and actually making fun of Jodie Foster? Because wasn't that a part of the story?
It was a part of the story, but it wasn't in the script.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she had like a natural reaction, was kind of appalled by it.
Yeah.
But thanked him later because it was like real raw acting. Those are the 3 fun facts I learned about his character building.
Well, I mean, scariest was he a psychiatrist or psychologist? I don't know.
Katie, you're the person to tell me this. I don't know.
Okay. We all watched the movie. What? I don't know. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
But, you know, I liked how that was his backstory because...
I did too.
I felt like it made a little more sense how he was so good, in a way, at breaking her down.
Yes.
Because in that first scene when they meet, her whole goal is, I have to give him a questionnaire. Which I'm like, couldn't we, like, email it? What? This seems weird. It seems kind of silly. I mean, obviously there were ulterior motives that she didn't know. But so she goes in being like, hey, bud, got this questionnaire for you. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they don't say those words, obviously. Yeah. But that's kind of the intention. She has one goal and she's like, we got to do this. And he's like, nah, we're not going to do that. And he kind of takes control and he does it very seamlessly. But I like how he had that background because I feel like if he didn't and he was just some crazy guy that was like, just had a mundane job and whatever, like he didn't have those skills or didn't use those skills, it wouldn't have worked very well. I would have been like, what? How is he doing this? Like, stop.
And
it was less believable, I think, if they didn't do
and
that.
the backstory was so good because they needed his psychological skills to say, I want to understand Buffalo Bill, and he was one of your patients, and how do we get him? But do you remember what he asked Jodie Foster when she first starts talking to him?
For her credentials.
Well, yes, the closer and closer and closer, but then he goes, what did Mig say to you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was like, ah!
There was a lot of Migs talk. I was over it. I'm like, why do we care about Migs? We don't care about Migs.
Well, how about his most horrific... Should we get it out of the way?
Yeah, it was disgusting.
That's when I literally said Jesus Christ with an exclamation point.
I remember that scene, and you know, again, on TV, sometimes that's not shown. But obviously it was shown this time.
I mean, the intentional, just sexist, I was like, whoa. I forgot about the scene. I felt like, ugh. But I skipped over their first scene, and we should talk about that, because the reason I brought up when he says, what did Mig say to you? And then she, without a beat, says, he said, I can smell your, see you next Tuesday. And
but
then
that's what I mean. That's to your point, where it was almost like she keeps getting all this nastiness, pardon the pun, thrown at her. In whatever way you can imagine. But she's handling it very professionally. She wasn't like, oh, it's gross, I don't want to talk about it. She's like, okay, here's what he said. And she had such a straight composure. But even I wrote down for when he asked for the credentials, because obviously she comes in and she's like, I'm a cop and I have to give this to you and whatever. And he asked for that. And in my head, I thought I could see certain people, perhaps a toxic man, getting very offended by that and losing their, excuse the word, crap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like all the other male characters that we had met at that point, besides Barney, I don't count Barney, I could see them being so offended by a question like that. Being like, how dare you? You're the prisoner. Blah, blah. But she was just like, okay, hey, I'll shout you. No big deal. And like was so cool about it.
Yeah. And now as we're talking about it, I realize Hannibal Lecter would repeat how she does things well, where he's like, oh my gosh, you established trust, you were being respectful, and then you just whip out this questionnaire. And as he repeated things, it helped me get there faster. You were like, this is so good. He talks so fast.
Yeah.
And how about his obsession with her ugly shoes?
What? What did he say about
He kept talking about your cheap shoes, your cheap shoes. You had a great purse and a cheap shoe. Yeah, it cracked me up. I wrote that down. I was like, leave her shoes alone. He mentioned it more than once. It was weird. In other scenes.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, again, with the psychological background. I love that.
Yes.
Because he was basically like, you have to give me something.
Yeah.
And what I want from you is I just want almost like your backstory.
Yeah. One of the best lines that she said is, he rips her to shreds. He basically calls her white trash and, is just laying into her. And her line is, because I wrote it down, you see a lot, but why don't you look at yourself? And I thought, ooh, that's a good comeback. If somebody was like laying into you and you just were kind of at a loss
like,
to fight
go
back.
Look in the mirror.
Kind of, but I liked how she said, you see a lot. Do you ever do that on yourself? And I'm like, damn. That's like, come back.
And you know what his follow-up was to that?
No, I don't. What was it?
It was the where he just casually walks up very close to the glass and he leans on it and for no reason goes, a census taker tried to test me once. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. But like, why did we stop that?
Oh God, you're spot on.
Like that was his comeback was, I'm gonna freak you out.
Yes.
And also like, how does a census taker test you? Let me know. What they ask, like, do you live here and you got offended? I don't understand.
I have no idea. I'm trying to look for my notes because he says something. They're talking about Buffalo Bill and they're like, oh, he leaves a calling card. And she's like, most serial killers do. And he's like, I didn't. And she's like, yes, you eat yours. I was like, ugh,
yeah.
It's just so like straightforward. Ew.
Yeah.
Did you think it was believable though? So I almost feel like he was over her. Like she handed the questionnaire. He was like, all right, you're boring. And I think you're white trash and whatever. And then Miggs just is horrific to her with, the famous shot in the face. then he, feels bad and screams like the clue, which I thought, is he bored? Does he feel bad for her? I don't know if I believed if he felt bad for her. He's supposed to be this psychopath.
I kind of took it as like he thought it was insulting.
Yes.
And so it wasn't that it was her. I think it was just the act itself set him off. Where he's like, gross, even though like eating people is gross.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that part was weird because he was screaming the whole time and like angry. He was like, get back here. And he yells the clue in quotation marks, which
struggle bus on the clue
was a hard clue. Katie would have never got that clue. Katie would have been lost forever. I never would have got that.
Every clue, I would even rewind the movie and say like, okay, could I actually get this? No way.
No.
I don't even think Dad, who literally does the New York Times and pen and Sudoku for fun and every type of like word jumble, I don't even know if he'd get it. It was super hard. I almost wanted to be like, has anyone poked holes in these clues? Because they feel a little bit of like a stretch. And I thought to myself, he's testing to see how smart she is, but then he also like gives away stuff really easily. So it was like he was beyond intelligent and also felt bad. I mean, I was trying to understand, like, is he trying to help her because he ultimately feels bad? But I think you said it right. It was just a horrific act. At the end, though, he just gives away clues where he puts it in the case file.
But that's because she was talking finally to him.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the only reason why, like, it had to get to that point, you know?
Yeah.
She had to basically, like, open up, and then he was like, okay, now I'll tell you some things.
Oh,
but
so good.
Also, I mean, what luck that... Yeah. There was a lot of confusing things.
Agreed.
And I've seen this movie so many times.
Same. I over my head.
But they still confuse me. So Clarice was sent to talk with Hannibal just to interview him because he's a serial killer and a psychologist? Or did they know that he somehow had a connection ahead of time?
Yeah.
Or did they not know?
They did know. He had a connection ahead.
How did they know?
I think they thought he was a patient.
But... Okay.
I think they thought that but they didn't know who Buffalo Bill was, right?
Yeah.
But I think they had a clue that Hannibal Lecter could have potentially had him as a patient because when they were trying to talk to him, from what I understand, Clarice was obviously not the first person to ask him this.
Yes.
And so all these people have asked, and I think he alluded to, I know more than you realize, and their like last straw was like, screw it, let's send a student and see, and a woman and young, and let's just see what happens. So they never explicitly said that. So I was confused too, but that is what I tied together.
Okay. Well, that makes, I guess, more sense. I mean, there is a part later in the movie where Clarice, like, calls out Crawford, and it's like, so are you gonna, like, tell me things at all? I mean, you keep using me in this case, but you're not, like, telling me stuff. And he's like, don't be silly. And you're like, what? So are you going to tell me?
Well, I think it was dangerous. And then Crawford was like, well, Hannibal would have smelled it on you if you knew and had an ulterior motive. I mean, isn't that her job? You did.
Also, she had the best poker face ever. I mean, of all the people to keep secrets. My gosh, I think she would have been able to do it, but whatever. And then I love how when she leaves that, even though she got a clue, as they say. I don't know if she ever got the questionnaire. She ran away. We didn't even see Barney. Like, she just ran. I think she just literally ran out of the building. I don't know
I would have.
what the checkout procedure is.
She sprinted, as one should, after that horrific act.
She gets to her car, and it's not funny, but she's crying, and I wrote, crying out of the car, feel that.
We've all been there. God, Katie, I hope you haven't actually been there. That's horrific.
I have not interviewed a serial killer. Not yet. Not that I know of, actually, I should say. Not that I'm aware. Oh, God. Then the next scene, she's shooting a gun aggressively.
Yes.
So that's appropriate. But actually, I realize now that we're talking, I didn't talk about what I felt like was the most awkward scene in the beginning.
Yeah. Bring it up.
Do you know what it is?
The loud noise that no one addresses?
What? No. What is that? Where is that?
Okay, so she was talking. She was doing a monologue to Hannibal Lecter, and you hear this giant noise of like a door slam, or it just sounded like metal falling.
Oh.
And she just kind of keeps going with it, but it works with how eerie just kind of that basement prison. And I read it later that a worker had like dropped a wrench or something on set and the director thought it was cool to keep in. But in the scene, I thought, oh shoot, is the door opening and the evil doctor is going to come down and be like, get out of here, agent. Your time is up or something. And they never addressed it. So it was awkward. What are you talking about?
Well, the doctor, where he's gross and they're sitting in his office and he's hitting on her and it's gross. Then it cuts to they are sprinting.
Yes,
like they're sprinting through this jail hospital. Why are we running? Is there a time limit? But not only that, they're sprinting and and he's telling her all these rules,
Agreed.
which I would have thought we would have talked about before we were sprinting.
I wrote the same note.
He gets to the door that he's about to open and he goes, look what he did to this woman's face. And he whips out a photo that he just keeps in his jacket all the time. What are we doing? Why do we have a photo of a mangled woman? What's happening?
Your spot on.
I don't understand.
I wrote the same thing. I thought, couldn't we have gone over the protocol in the office? Why did we have to spend time hitting on her and then be like, all right, just like,
run.
By the way, he's the scariest man alive. He can eat your face off. He's the worst thing ever. Are you paying attention? Watch the stairs.
By the way, look at this photo that I keep in my breast pocket all times.
I did love that she was like, I'm going to need you to not come if he doesn't like
She's
you.
like, you're the worst.
Yeah, I thought, ooh, I wish I could say that line a lot. Hey, we're going into this meeting, and since you've mentioned this person doesn't like you, it might be better if you don't come. Thank you, bye.
Yeah, but that was a lot.
Okay, so on my next scenes, she goes to the Moffat storage. She finds the dead head, which is...
Wait, but before
Oh,
that...
what did I miss?
Because, again, a very good example of the sexism.
Oh, yeah, the old guy can't lift it.
He's like, I can't lift it. Better wait for my son. He's super strong and
Yes.
he's a man and
Yes.
only men can lift things,
Yes.
young lady. And she's like, I'll just get the car jack, sir.
Oh my gee.
Also terrifying because...
Yeah, if that falls
where she's
on
like,
you.
here's my card in case I got locked in. Ha, bye. And she rolls under the door. I'm like, that's my nightmare. I don't want to spend a night in a storage locker. Holy moly.
Or have the door fall on you. It was not a lot of space to crawl under
well, that's
it.
scary too.
Yeah, but to be crushed by the door.
That was a big storage locker too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, I could live in there. I don't want to, but I could.
I hope you don't want to. It's full of dead people.
There's a car in there too.
Which was like a hearse.
Whose car?
Was it
Yeah.
a hearse?
I
Because
don't
like
know.
the way she opened the side door, inside it had that velvet fabric
Yeah.
and you know, you think about probably in like the 50s, I thought of like Frankenstein and all those old black and white movies where like heads would be in jars. Like
Yeah.
I thought of that. I thought, that's just random and creepy.
I thought of if this was an episode of Storage Wars and someone paid, I don't even know how much they pay on that show, but like $5,000 for the storage locker, and they went in and they found a head.
Oof, you'd want your refund.
Yeah.
We're gonna be rich. No, you're gonna be screwed and scarred.
And the police are taking your storage locker. Okay. That whole thing was confusing. I mean,
It
the
was.
whole her being like, I thought the clue was a little too easy. So then I made this weird leap where I looked in a phone book and I found a name that had nothing to do with what he said, but it made sense in my brain. And screw the audience, so we're gonna go here. And it was exactly what she thought.
I agree. I thought, what is the clue? Who is this Moffat person? And how did we get to, I wrote it down, Benjamin Raspin. How did we, what's happening? What town are we in? Did we specify the city? These things are so confusing.
So I actually don't know where Hannibal was. I don't remember where that was.
Were they in the Virginia area?
The FBI Academy's in Virginia. It's in Quantico.
Yeah.
And then the storage locker was in Maryland.
Oh.
I think Baltimore. Yeah, there was
She was bouncing around.
States, everybody. I mean, there's a lot of travel.
And let me tell you, those FBI agents and those private little jets, I thought, Jesus Christ.
That's our taxpayer dollars right there.
But you're supposed to be stealth, bro.
No, I guess not.
Yeah, you're right. She was all over. Ugh.
So then again, questions, because I'm full of them. Just full of them.
Let me hear.
Okay, so she finds the head. and she's chill. She doesn't scream her head off like I would. And then leaves. And when she leaves the storage locker, it's raining. And then the next scene is her going back to the jail / hospital, whatever we're calling it, where Hannibal is. It's the middle of the night. It's still raining. Is this the same night? Did this woman?
It is the same night.
She drove from a storage locker with a severed head to go talk to a crazy person?
With a bleeding thigh.
It's nighttime?
Yeah, it was the same night because he was like, I see you're bleeding. And she's like, it's nothing. It was something.
But also, like, what if he's sleeping? I mean, it's nighttime. I don't understand.
I am with you. And I'll just say this. If I was a student and some big shot's like, hey, I'm going to have you talk to this psychopath. It's kind of like your first big thing. You're doing great. Top of your class. I don't know if I would think I have full authority to do whatever the hell I want, go wherever I want, and just like roll up to psychiatric wards and just kind of keep interviewing. I would be like, can I interview more than once? I don't know. This is why I'm not an FBI agent.
Who let her into the jail? Like Barney's like, come on.
Barney's like, hey, lady. Yeah, you're right. It's not.
It was weird.
There were some holes, but it's almost like you didn't care because you liked the rhythm.
Yes.
You wanted them to connect again, and you thought, oh my God, it already happened. I didn't want to wait too long before seeing Hannibal and their relationship again because it was like just building momentum.
So she then, when she goes and she talks with him, that's when he kind of alludes to, that was my patient. I didn't kill him. But I found him, and so the most logical thing for me to do is to put him in the storage locker. But I think he might have been killed by Buffalo Bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait a second. Now I'm connecting the dots.
Okay.
The guy with the severed head.
Yeah.
Benjamin Raspin.
Yes.
Was dating.
Yes.
Buffalo Bill, and Benjamin Raspin was the patient to Hannibal Lecter, hence why he knew about Buffalo Bill. I'm making the connection now.
And he had disclosed to Hannibal that Buffalo Bill, before he was Buffalo Bill, killed a random person.
Yeah.
Which you report that.
Should probably say something. Well, he's also a cannibal, serial killer, so I guess cannibal. That went off his list.
Do you think he changed his name to Hannibal so it rhymed with cannibal? Conspiracy theories.
We should Google that.
Well, this was based off of a book.
A book,
too.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I don't think they had that luxury. I think it was already done for them.
Yeah.
We have this obsession with serial killers. And I think the thing I liked, which I'd be curious if the book tackles it, they say part of these serial killers, like the Ted Bundys of the world, is they're charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that like him and want to watch him. And it's like, well, what about the freaking victims that were just like brutally murdered? And why don't we care? And what's wrong with us? But Hannibal Lecter, I kind of had a point where I was like, I'm afraid of you. I don't want to be in any scenes with you. Like, you're terrifying me. And I think when we got to see him like rage against some people later in the movie, I liked it because when we didn't see him doing it, you kind of liked him a little bit. And I thought, oh, here we go again. We love these serial killers and ugh.
Right.
I don't want to love serial killers.
Yeah,
gross.
You shouldn't. They're killers.
Yeah, but it's just I don't like entertainment. It makes us love them. It's weird.
But you know, they didn't do that with Buffalo Bill.
He did
was
not.
Super unlikable. I couldn't think of one time I liked him. The only thing I liked about him is he had a dog. And even that, you know.
Precious.
Precious.
Is that the dog's name? Is Precious?
Yes.
God.
Yeah. So that after that scene where he is talking with Clarice after the storage locker, that's when you finally see Buffalo Bill.
Oof.
That scene was creepy.
And I think they pulled like multiple serial killers. They took the way that they actually killed women and put it into this character. And I think that whole cast, so having like a fake cast.
It was very Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy used to pretend that he was injured or needed help. And it was a lot of like, I'm lifting something into my truck or like bringing it into my apartment. And God, I just want to scream at this girl. I'm like, honey.
Don't help.
Don't be nice.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not even nice. It's self-preservation. Also, her cat watched the whole thing.
No help from the cat. The song is iconic, too. She's an American girl.
I know. It's like, we're really hammering it.
Oof.
Okay.
But
got it.
Honestly, okay. We gotta talk about her. I
okay.
I thought to myself, she was good, but I thought to myself, If I got kidnapped by a psychopath, I'm in a really giant pit in a basement, and I'm not climbing out, and I'm like, fuck. She screamed the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would give up. I would literally just be like, what am I screaming for? I'm dead. I'm going to starve and die.
How long do you think she was there, though? Because it didn't
Days.
feel like it was...
Because she had to starve herself. No, he needed the skin to be loose, so she had to lose weight. So, like, he had to have a couple days to starve her. I would say 3 days, 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And she was screaming the entire time.
Except when she was doing the thing with Precious.
Brilliant.
I would have never thought of that.
I
would have been like trying to climb up the wall and tunnel my way out with a spoon.
I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird, though, that he, like, left a string down there.
And the bucket. I was like, why is the bucket there? Can't she, like...
I don't know.
Scoop the dirt? I don't know. That's what I would be doing. I'd be scooping.
What would you do? You just, like, dig under the house and try to, like, make a tunnel?
Yes,
oh, my God.
Absolutely. I would have been doing that, and he would have been like, you're just losing weight faster, honey.
That should be a party question. If you're in a giant pit in a basement and you're going to die, what do you do? Oh, good God. Horrifying. I'm horrified about all of that.
Very scary. And also,
Yes, there.
So he was creepy. He was very creepy. And there's a scene where, I think it's Crawford maybe, is like, Clarice, give me a profile on Buffalo Bill or some nonsense.
Yeah.
And she starts talking and saying all these things. Well, he's a male. He's in this age range. And then she goes, and he's very strong. And I was like, what? I mean, he ain't. He's like this little skinny mini.
Oh.
I'm not even convinced that he was able to get her out of the van into the hole. How'd you get her into the hole? Without, like, breaking her neck.
I thought about that.
Wild.
I thought about, does he, like, slowly descent the body in a tiny buckets? Like, I was just like, I'm with you. I was like, if he threw her down there, she'd break some legs.
That's what I thought. Wouldn't that mess up the skin?
You're right about that. Huh.
It's just weird. I didn't get that point. I was kind of like, why is he strong, though? Because he's
I can
killing
see him being
bigger
strong.
women?
Yeah, so...
Please.
Oh my God. I was like, okay, you need a skin suit. What? So, when you read some articles today, they talk about how that was super kind of homophobic, and he had this little dog, and he liked to put on lipstick and glitter, and just over the top. I mean, I get he's a psychopath serial killer, but you're just like, we get it. Like the lipstick, the super zoom in lipstick, and he's like, I'd, screw me. Oh, yeah, I'd screw me. I was like, oh my Lord, relax.
Yeah. I felt like it was a little dated. Also, just how they talked about the transvestite thing where he was like, yeah, he wants to be a woman, but nobody will do the surgery because he has a history of trauma. And I'm like,
yeah, that doesn't connect now either.
No,
that doesn't
it's
make any sense
unfortunate,
now.
but most individuals who decide to change genders have a history of trauma. But why does that mean they shouldn't change? That's not fair.
That doesn't mean anything, right? Like what hospital could say no to that?
I don't know. It just felt like the writer was kind of like, I don't really know anything about this, and I'm not going to look it up, and I don't care.
So, yeah. And you're leading to the scene where the cop scene where he kicks her out of the room, one more lovely sexist scene, and they whip open the dead body, and we see the sewing, like the triangle shapes.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'll tell you, all right, I don't have a lot of sewing experience, but I do know how to sew.
Yep.
And I will tell you, if you look up a shirt pattern to say, I want a back, you don't cut out triangles like that.
No.
So I thought to myself, what is this man doing? Because you remember how he rubs her back and he's like, oh, perfect, no scars or anything. But I'm just going to make star shaped, like little peanut butter and jelly sandwich star shapes in the back and sew it together. I thought, Who is giving this man direction?
And wasn't that his first victim? Isn't that what they said? They were like, this is the first girl that he killed.
Yes, you would think he'd take more skin. I guess we're getting really dark with this. We've just completely ignored these are people and we should care about them. But
yeah, they're fake people. It's okay.
Yes. And then we see the first larva stuck in the mouth.
Oh, I hated it.
Oh,
it was so gross.
And then we meet.
Yes, please talk about it. Please.
Is it etymologist? What do you call a bug doctor?
It is etymologist.
Etymologist?
Pretty sure.
Whew. So, one more male who hits on her. Was that the most awkward scene in the world?
Ugh. That whole part,
Ugh. You look so tired.
Trying to think of the words. Like, they're playing chess or checkers with bugs? Why couldn't they just be normal?
That was very,
Why do they hammer in that they like bugs?
No, that was very over the top. And how she made a joke about it, like, oh, if the bug moves another piece, does it count? And he was really serious that it does count. And how else do you play? We get it. You're nerdy bug people. My God.
It was
a little much.
It was weird.
Yeah,
but yeah, even much. That, you're kind of like, why do you have to hit on her? Why can't... You're supposed to be professional, too, and you're being weird.
The one guy was professional. The other guy's like, Agent Starling, you ever go out for pizza and beer? And I was like, she is literally trying to stop women from being serial murdered. And y'all are trying to ask her out for pizza? God.
You know what I will say, though, which is... thinking back to childhood.
Okay.
So when this movie came out, obviously I was literally just born. I was an infant.
No, yo, baby Katie.
Yeah. But, it was still popular growing up. And the one thing that I remember about this movie was not the actual movie. It was the poster.
Oh.
And the poster of the dead woman, who's really not a woman in the movie. She's like a skinny random...
No, it's Jodie Foster's face, but it's black and white, so she looks off.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so creepy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But then it's the moth on the mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, that scared me.
Yes.
Because again, as a kid,
VHS covers. Yeah.
Well, if you don't know what something's really about, and I just see that, as a kid, my imagination is running rampant, and I'm thinking, there's killer moths, they're coming out of my throat, which kind of they were, but like not. Like, that's really not... The moths are gross, but they aren't used in the aspect of murdering. They're put in after, and it's like some symbolism.
Well, he's leaving his, like, calling card.
Whatever.
I am with you. The symbolism of, I don't like the body I'm in, so I want to metamorphose to this other being, and I'm going to wear a women's skin suit to do that.
In my head, I was kind of like,
much.
Okay, let's say you did it.
Yep.
You accomplished it.
Yep.
You finished your suit. What are you doing now?
Yeah.
Now what? Now what are you doing?
You're walking around with them smelly skin suit?
Because it's stinky.
It's gross.
And there's seams in it, and I hate it.
There's triangle seams, because we don't know how to sew.
There are peanut butter and jelly star seams.
Peanut butter and jelly star seams. And he wasn't using the proper, like, thread to blend in. He was probably using black and looked like...
because there was that one part at the end where Jodie Foster sees it, and it looked terrible. I know it wasn't finished, but it looked terrible. Ugh. And I just, in my head, was like, you're gonna wear that?
I don't think he thought that through.
And it's funny, too, because he was given a backstory of being into sewing.
Well, do you know why?
Because of the woman? Was it because, so you could connect with that woman?
I'm pulling at straws here, because I think this was it. So the first woman that got killed, who he had a connection to, her best friend sent Jodie to that house because it was old Mrs. whatever who used to sew. And I believe Buffalo Bill is like, oh, I think this lady's son used to live here. I have his card. Do you want it? And in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe he was the son.
Oh.
But I mean, I'm kind of jumping. I don't know if that's true.
Because there was a part where she was kind of figuring out that the first woman that was murdered that they find, and when they first find the bug in the throat, she I think when she had gone to visit the home that woman lived in, she kind of figured, like, this was someone she knew.
Yeah.
Like, she knew this guy. It
Yeah.
was not random. So I thought that he was friends with her, and they did sewing, and that's why there was... No, I don't know.
We're saying
actually.
that...
Now that I'm saying
No,
it, I'm like,
we're
wait,
going
I
down
don't
the
know.
same
I'm
path,
making leaps.
but I think that she knew him because he was the son of the woman that was a sewer. That's the connection
and he killed
I made.
his mom? Ew.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think the whole 9 yards.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You're right. There was a lot of clues that Jodie Foster, how did you figure these out? Even at the end, when it's the ballerina box, and she's like, I know. She definitely hid some nudie Polaroids in the top of the ballerina box, as
you do.
One woman growing up does. I thought, okay, so now you see nudes. Now what?
I think that part, though, is why I thought she knew Buffalo Bill.
Like they had a relationship.
Or he was like the photographer, and then because of that, he was like, ooh, big woman, lots of skin. Yeah.
I guess, because her best friend was like, if she was dating someone, I'd know. She told me everything. So it wasn't even...
Because there was the secret photo, so obviously there was someone she didn't know about. I thought it was him. I don't know.
All right. Okay, we gotta jump. I'm gonna make you jump because
Okay.
part of the really good scenes of Jodie Foster giving the fake deal to Hannibal Lecter of the fake island, and he was like, they're dead to me, how dare they? But he somehow still gets moved because Catherine, who's in the hole, her mother is a senator, and so her mother's now pulling the card of, I'll get you to where you gotta go, give me these answers.
Yeah.
This setup of that glass box
I know.
in the old doctor leaving the pen, so he was able to like swallow the pen, which thought that was a reach. He had his hands in a straitjacket. I agree.
You telekinesis?
But then I thought maybe he swallowed the pen.
I don't know.
Yeah, again, we just ignore it because it's part of the movie.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, and I feel like the entire shift, and then they have their other interaction where we start to learn where the lambs come in, and then how backstory, and then we get to see how ruthless Hannibal Lecter is, because I have notes about how wild that scene was, but I don't know if I'm missing any big stuff in between. It rubs the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
Oh, gross.
What's grossest? Grossest is when he does the fake, like, dead-eyed, no emotion imitation of her scream. That was the worst.
You could tell, because they're doing this, like, psychological profiling of, you know, he doesn't want to see Catherine as a person, and that's why he's like, it puts the lotion, it.
Yeah.
And then you feel, like, a little bit, he looks as if he cares when she's screaming, and you're right, he turns on a dime, and he's like, ooh, that was good and believable.
I hated it.
I had a lot of goosebumps, multiple times. And that was one of them.
Of everything that he did, that fake scream scared me the most. Just that emotionless, like, but he, like, was mocking her.
Ew.
Ooh.
Oh, it's so creepy.
No. So the only scene that I have that's kind of between when he gets transferred is when he is talking with the senator. And again, he kind of was told by the annoying doctor guy that we don't care about.
Yeah.
Where he's like, it was a fake transfer, huh? But, like, you really are getting transferred.
I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, you're not going to an island. You're still getting to leave away from the other guy, which he hates. So he's still, like, one.
Yeah. But, you know, when he talks to the senator and is, like, mocking her and being gross.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, and the dolly, the famous rolling him on a dolly, which I was like, who thought of this? And the famous mask.
Yeah.
Also, wouldn't that be a good Halloween costume? Someone just rolls you around on a dolly and you get to just, like, hang out.
That would be the best for me. Like,
That'd
to be rolled around.
Yeah, how fun would that be?
The best. I can't eat candy, though, because I got a face mask on, but...
But you have, like, room for a straw, so you just, I don't know, some milkshakes.
Non-stop milkshakes. That would be awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so let's just dissect this scene.
Okay.
Because when he murders all the cops, and he somehow, like Houdini, gets the pen, swallows it, somehow takes the pen
Do you
apart.
think he swallowed it? You think he did?
There's a scene where he's basically kind of vomiting it up. He's like, 1 minute, please. There's two distinct parts of this murdering scene. It stuck with me so much, and I thought one was brilliant, and the other, how you talk about how Buffalo Bill's mimicking her screaming. This was the part for me where I shuddered.
Yeah.
He takes the police stick, and with classical music in the background, is just slowly beating his face bloody as the blood just pours over him. And it's not gory, but it's not delicate. It felt like it was part of the music. Like he was a composer, with his little, whatever those things are called, their little wand. But
when you talked about how he was wearing white in this scene. And when I watched this scene, I wondered, did they do that because they knew he was going to get all bloody, and white and red are very good contrast? Because then he's like, it's covered, the white, it's covered in the red. And then later on, when there's the old switcheroo.
I thought that was brilliant. No?
So, okay.
So you thought it was cheesy?
No, I didn't. I didn't think it was cheesy, but...
How did they not know?
Kinda.
His face was being bloody.
When I watched it, the very first time I've ever watched it, which I couldn't even tell you how old I was, but I distinctly remember during that part when they go up to what they think is the cop, he's still alive. Oh, get him on the ambulance. When I saw that for the first time, I honestly was like, isn't that Lecter's face? Like, for whatever reason, and I know it's not. I know he skinned the man's face, but for some reason, it, to me, just looked like his face, and maybe they just looked alike, and it was just a coincidence, and I know it was all bloody and whatever, but I don't know. For some reason, it's like I always think of that now, and I'm kind of like, it still looks like him, even this time around, and I really try to look closely, like, they're different, and I was like, they do look alike.
No, you're not wrong. They do look alike, but I thought to myself, so first of all, why was there only 2 cops up there? Good God. I mean, there's like 87 cops in the first floor.
Where are the security cameras?
And there's no cameras and whatever. But
and also, what building were they in? It wasn't a jail.
Oh my God, it was so weird. And
there's 500 cops on the first floor, but you have...
I agree.
There's only 2 with the murderer.
I agree. And somehow we had to have 5 floors of this building. No, you just needed 1 floor where he didn't get out. Here's the thing that I agree with you that it looked like Hannibal. I don't disagree with that. But imagine coming up and seeing your cohort with their entire stomach open, hung like a bloody angel, the horrific scene of
gross.
That. And then you have another cop on the ground that somehow is alive. You're not thinking, is this secretly Hannibal? You're thinking, holy cow, this is the most jarring image I've ever seen in my entire life. I have to get to the hospital. So, like, I thought of it where, how the hell does he get out? And that is such a brilliant... He went for it, right? He had one shot, he went for it, and... I'm sad that you were kind of like, meh, because I thought it was brilliant.
No, I mean, it was good. I just felt like it looked like him, and... I guess you're right. In reality, it would be really weird to, when you're in the heat of the moment and your adrenaline's pumping, to stop and be like, wait a second, what if he skinned that guy, put that guy's clothes on, and then put his body over there, and then put his face over there, and then... You're right. That would be a weird jump.
I mean, Jodie Foster would have caught it. We know that.
Jodie would have been like, you guys are dumb.
She'd be like, it's like the jumble from the beginning with Moffat. You have to keep up, people. God, these sheriffs. But he rips off the face in the ambulance. Multiple exclamation points in my notes. I wrote,
creepy.
It's insane!
Do you think it's... I know he's a cannibal, but being a cannibal is different than skinning someone. So, I don't know. I just think if I ever, God forbid, had to do something like that, I don't think I'd be good at it. I think I'd cut the nose off, cut the lips off.
You're saying
it'd be a holy mess.
You're like, saying you wouldn't have the skills to properly skin a human's face.
I don't think so. I don't think I could skin anything. I have trouble skinning an orange, so I'm just saying.
And most people don't have an orange as a face, so...
Yes.
Well, I think that this is fine since we're both not serial killers, so we'll be okay.
True.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Knock on wood. Let's keep it that way. Deal?
Deal.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Then it jumps to... I thought this build-up was great. It jumps to Crawford saying, Clarice, we figured him out. Like, duh, lady. We got it covered. And they show an image and you're thinking, oh, God, that's not him. But we don't know what's happening. But you're kind of still believing that they're going to go to the house and find him. And then she's simultaneously going to the right house with him. And they ring the door.
But do you remember how it was filmed?
No. What do you...
So they have the phone conversation, Crawford and Jodie Foster, and then you see Crawford and his men, and they ring a doorbell. And then the very next cut is the alarm bell in Buffalo Bill's place.
Yeah.
And you don't see Jodie for
Yeah.
a couple seconds. And then it cuts back to Crawford's people kind of looking around like, nobody's answering. And they ring it again, and you see the alarm bell again.
That's good.
Buffalo Bill. So it's literally filmed in a way to make you think,
Yeah.
oh, they're in the right place. And then when Buffalo Bill finally reacts to the alarm and he opens the door, it's Jodie Foster.
That
Woo!
I thought
Amazing.
best build up. And she kind of feels defeated, right? She's like, oh, okay, well, they got him, and now I'm just following up with this old lady. I was part of the action and whatever. And he does it well. Like, I believe the fact that he'd be like, oh, I want to know if the FBI is going to catch me. So he kind of invites her in and has this cockiness to him that like, oh, do they have fingerprints? But she somehow just looks left and right and is like, this place is really off.
Well, she sees the moth.
And she sees the moth. And what is not believable to me is she takes her gun out. She's like, freeze! And then he runs into the basement. Why is she not calling for some backup?
I don't know.
Where is the... Okay, he's in the house. I'm just gonna watch if he comes out of the house, and I'll be outside just waiting for him to leave the house. Why do I have to go follow him in the basement? But I guess thinking about Catherine's down there and she can get killed, and if she waited outside, I felt like, where's your backup? But I guess that's her character.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, what did they teach you in school, honey? Like, what was the...
Check your corners.
Response?
Oh,
I was going to say, and that scene, I remember when we were watching that, I was kind of like, why is this in here? And then later in the movie, I was like, homegirl checked her corners.
She checked her corners. How many doors did that basement have? I thought, we can't have another door in this basement. There's enough doors. This is a tiny, tiny house.
And a well?
A giant well.
I'm sorry. Is this the ring? I'm out of here.
You just brought up the ring.
That's the scariest movie to me as an 11-year-old.
But the throwing the lights out and... what was the infrared kind of camera?
Night vision
goggles.
Yeah.
And him like touching her hair. It was so good. And you're right. The moth, they did a good job of adding that to the story, but not over accenting it. And the moth, you're like, okay, we got it. But all of the moths down in that basement and the darkness and the well, I thought, and you see the skin suit and you see, all of these little touch points of this like lunatic, and you're literally in the belly of the beast. Woof, 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 woof.
Yeah, I hated it.
I think I would have peed my pants.
Definitely.
I would have cried, peed my pants, and not left whatever place I was in, and I would have just had my gun out and hoped for the best and just kept shooting. I would
shoot all 6 bullets.
Yeah,
there they go.
Cartoon style, just kind of like shoot all 6 bullets. I would just whip them up. This is why I'm not an agent. I'd die immediately.
So
this YouTube channel I watch called Everything Wrong With.
They basically will review a movie and point out everything that's wrong with it. And it's very nitpicky and it's supposed to be funny.
Oh.
So for this movie, one of the things that I remember is that they were pointing out how at this scene where the lights go out, and even I think it's before the lights technically go out, but she goes down to the basement, they pointed out how she wasn't trying to like look pretty almost. She was making these really ugly, like very intense faces. And they kind of pointed out, that's pretty awesome how she wasn't trying to like look, like I'm confident and attractive. Like she was almost, if you were a real person
horrified
in the basement of a serial killer, you would look like a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
having an intense, crazy reaction. You wouldn't even care what your face looked like at that point. And I thought of that during the scene when I watched it this time around, and I was like, they're so right, because her reactions, it's very raw, and it's definitely real. It's almost like it's not even acted, you know?
She kept tripping over things.
Yes.
Think about your worst fears. You comes face to face with a serial
Dolls.
killer. You have like Chucky style dolls.
I hate that.
You have to be a hero because there's somebody there that just needs you. The lights go out. You're in a dingy basement. You're like, I'm gonna die. I'm totally gonna die. I don't know where I'm at. I remember as a kid, my logic in our basement was, I am going to... in the dark, I would turn off the lights a lot in the basement. And I remember thinking, okay, this basement's scary. It's really annoying that there's no door, so like anyone can come down. And if I have all the lights off... And there's no windows. And if I have all the lights off, when someone comes down the stairs, they have to turn the lights on. I also thought if I was going to get murdered because there's a door to this basement, I could easily get murdered. I really want to know my surroundings in the dark. And that was from this movie. Like, as I watched it, I was like, oh, that's why I was like crazy about knowing how to move around in a dark basement, is in case I get trapped with a serial killer in this basement, I could survive.
Wait, did you like practice that?
100% all the time. I would I'd try to feel the walls, and I would try to just like know where I was.
There was a lot of rooms in that basement. It was a big basement.
And the back room where the furnace.
Ew, I hated the back room. Ew,
oh man,
creepy.
I tell you. So yeah, I just had a lot of notes that said OMG, OMG, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and then I wrote this is visionary shit.
I love how she killed him, and then she also brought in the sunlight.
Yes. That's part of the visionary line.
But also, one of my favorite things about that ending was, whatever, she kills him, and then the next scene is kind of all the police, they're coming to the house, and they're helping out with getting Catherine home. But Catherine is Carrie Precious! And she's like, yeah, I tried to kill this dog, but now I'm gonna adopt it.
I don't know if I would take in the serial killer's dog. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Oh, come on. You don't think the dog is a victim?
I think the dog can be healed in a vet that I don't want to see because I associate with a serial killer that almost murdered me. No, I don't. I love dogs. I don't want to associate it with the serial killer.
I just want to point out, we're talking about a dog and a serial killer, and my pride and joy bear, the Rottweiler, is now barking in his crate. So I'm just saying.
He's like, I'll protect you, moms. I love you.
He's like, support the serial killer dogs.
Okay, I've waited long enough. I need to hear Dad's comment.
All right.
Let's go. What do we got? What do we got?
Okay, I made it a draft. Oh my god, they're going. Do you hear them?
What's happening? Like, are you okay?
Crazy.
Do you need to check the locks? I'm scared.
Actually,
it's a really creepy ending, Kate. Something's happening at your house, and I can't protect you because I'm in a
think
different
Dad's
city.
just talking to someone in the neighborhood. He's just talking to Buffalo Bill. It's fine.
Katie!
I'm just
Stop it! Oh wait, I got your file from Dad. Should I play it?
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. What did you think of Silence of the Lambs?
I thought it was a cult classic. But I'm sorry, I can't talk to you that long. I'm having someone for dinner.
Amazing.
He is such a weirdo. I love him. I love him so much. He's getting good at this. He's getting really good at it.
He's enjoying it. So I had told him maybe a half hour before we started talking. I was like, I need to get your quote for the movie. And he was like, I have to think about it. I was like, okay, well, you have
getting
not a lot
stage
of
fright.
time.
Oh, so sorry, diva.
Yeah, geez.
Ugh.
And then that's what he came up with. It was amazing.
Oh, so good.
But you liked Silence of the Lambs, right?
I loved it back then. I loved it now.
Amazing.
I am just as scared as I was. But I thought I could follow the plot better as an adult. So I think I would definitely call this an adult movie for obviously the fact that it's like rated R and all that. But even as, 18, 19, it was fast. Like the clues and the this and the that. I think it's better as an adult movie. Like an adult. like later adult.
Yeah. It's a rewatchable movie where you can watch it once and obviously enjoy it. But when you watch it again, I think it helps you pick up things.
Yes.
Because I definitely picked up things this time around. I don't think I would have made all the connections that I did, if I only watched it once.
Agree. But it's funny that you rewatch it over and over again. I don't think I could do it like multiple times, or if it comes on TV, be like, you know what, I'm going to watch this. I have to gear up for it. I'm a wuss. I'm a big scaredy pants.
Yeah.
Great pick. It was.
Yay!
You just keep nailing it. And
Woo!
I don't want to hype myself up too much, but I think I nailed your pick.
Oh my god. I'm so excited.
So, I'm keeping the late 80s, 90s situation. Yep, take it easy. Take it easy.
Okay, because I've been thinking, there's not a lot of exciting things in my life right now. So this
COVID is rough.
It's exciting when I know you're going to be picking something for me.
I know.
I get excited when I pick something for you, but
well, same. I've
been
thrilled.
speculating like where could we go?
I don't know. I don't think you're going to be ready for this. I pulled this from the memory bank.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so you like some fantasy. You also like some kind of mythical. I would say you fit into Dad's situation with this. And
yes.
As a kid, this was a movie that was on a lot. Now, you're younger than me, so I never truly remember if you watch movies as much as me. So I always have to kind of like guess, because clearly this movie came out before you were born. So this is directed by Ron Howard, produced and a story by George Lucas.
Oh, God.
But not what you think it is. It is the 1988 American dark fantasy drama, Willow.
I'm not even kidding you. I watched this movie 2 months ago on Disney Plus because it's so awesome.
Oh, I'm mad you just watched it. Should I pick another one?
No, I love it. It's so good.
Okay.
It's the best, Bridget.
It's a great
now I get
movie.
to analyze it. It's the best. Val Kilmer. Warwick Davis.
This came out of my memory bank, and I was beyond
We
thrilled.
used to have this movie that was taped off of TV on a VHS that was very staticky.
It was the worst recording ever.
Yeah. And I watched it a lot, actually. Yep. I love this movie.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I knew this is right up your alley. I just didn't remember. I don't know if you knew it as much. Perfect.
This is a very, you use the word dark. It is kind of dark.
Yeah.
There is dark. I mean, I've watched it recently.
Okay, see, I didn't remember all that. I'm just reading what Wikipedia says, but... Okay.
Get ready.
Well, we're clearly just going into the cave of darkness, so if we had any kind of comedy, lighthearted people, we'd lost them in these episodes.
It's okay. Listen, you gotta have an open mind.
Depth. Depth,
people.
people.
Broaden your horizons to Willow.
Life's full of lots of different experiences. You need them all. It's called character, damn it.
This is gonna be so good. I'm excited. Oh boy. Well,
we did it.
We did it. I mean, we gotta finish up Silence of the Lambs, though, so...
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Oh, I love you. Cheers to not getting murdered by serial killers. Knock on wood. I'm nervous. I'm scared. Don't have bad dreams. Love you.
Okay, love you.
See, this is why I can't watch a lot of scary movies. I get really stressed out. I love you.
Boy.
This was so fun. On to next. On to Willow. Willow it is. The adventure continues.
Okay. Good night, listeners. Good night, Bridget.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Sisters Who've Seen It. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, among other podcasting websites. Or listen on our website at sisterswhoseenit.buzzsprout.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at sisterswhoseen and on Instagram at sisterswhoseenit, all spaced with underscores. See you next week.